Who doesn't love another free game that's also brand new? So, let's talk about Oddworld Soulstorm. Oh, and one more thing. Welcome to the night shift. Let's get you guys clocked in. Hello, 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 everybody. It is I, your one and only shift leader, Logan, and it is that time once again. It is Review Friday, and we have brand new free games for the month of April. And this is no exception because we get Oddworld Soulstorm, a free brand new PlayStation 5 exclusive title. So, let's get into this, alright? So, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not all that super into this game. But let's get into how I feel, what led me to how I feel, right? So, story. Oddworld Soulstorm is a continuation of a series. And you play as this character, Abe, who is basically leading this rebellion against this evil corporation. And he's at the center of this. And there's a lot going on here. And your goal is to free as many of your fellow people as you can and try and keep them alive. Now, that being said, I had a hard time getting into this story, and I attest a lot of that to the next part, which I know I normally don't jump into over gameplay, but audios and visuals. So, I'm trying to think of how to put this. So, visually, this game looks really well. You could tell that they were pumping the PlayStation 5 out of everything they could. You know, the environments look really well. The cinematics are really cool. I don't know if somebody said to them, hey, listen, our cinematics, we need to do anything and everything that can be possibly done with an animation and camera. Because they did everything and anything. I mean, from third person to first person, there were several moments where they did a fishbowl effect, which was really weird on like a fish eye on the lens, which was really weird. I don't know why they did that. But again, that's where they spend a lot of their time in it, and it really shows. You can tell that this is a very cinematic-driven game. And I don't hate the cinematics. It just felt weird. Because then there's the other part. The audio. Again, so I'm also coming at this completely brand new. I have no exposure to the Oddworld series beyond this game. However, I really wanted to try it because it seemed fun and enjoyable. And I figured, what the heck, you know. So I jumped in here, and some of you might like it, but I'm not really digging the fact that all of the characters have this overly high-pitched, overly auto-tuned voices. It's really weird, and it really takes me out of the story, which I think could be really good, but then they start talking, and then it makes the acting feel, I think, flaccid. I mean, like, basically the gameplay I'm showing is the absolute first dive 10 minutes or whatever, 10, 15 minutes. And it's literally almost all cinematics, and it just, I don't know, it just felt really not as important as I think it should have been, and I think it could have been if the voices weren't so weird. Now that's just, that's just me coming straight from having no like experience with this from the past. And there may be a bunch of people out there that really enjoy the characters for what they are coming from the series. So by all means, that's just my opinion as a newcomer to the series. Now, on to the gameplay, right? My thing with the gameplay was that it was very, very simplistic. Because this is essentially a side scroller adventure. They do some really cool things to, like, as you're transitioning, like, to a different, maybe like little area, so you'll see like the path curves and you run that way kind of deal. They do some cool stuff with the environment. The environments are really cool to look at, and they're really interesting to look at, and each one has been pretty different so far. But it's very simplistic. I mean, in terms of a side scroller, you run through, you have secret areas, you climb, you jump, you have to. In this one, it's encouraged to avoid enemies using your sneak. But you also have water bottles that you can throw to extinguish fire. You have this, I think it's called brew or whatever, that basically lets you take campfires that light your enemies on fire. You have different stuff like that allow you to get rid of obstacles in your way. Not to mention you have this chant function that has multiple functions throughout the game. Now, that all being said, again, like I said, it's very simplistic and it's very easy to get for anyone to jump into. That being said, I couldn't help but compare it to a lot of side scrollers that I've played, especially recently, because I recently got my hands on a Switch and I played a lot of side scrollers there. And I was like, oh, this kind of reminds me of this. Oh, this kind of reminds me of that from here. And I kind of kept saying, it's like, but they did it better. So, I don't know. That's kind of where I was at on that. In terms of bugs, honestly, again, because of how simplistic this game is and the fact that it's a side scroller, I kind of anticipated that we wouldn't run into too many bugs, and I didn't see too many instances of that. I think they did a really good job of making sure this game was really polished and really, ready for release. So, that all being said, now we're on to the part where does this land? So, story-wise, like I said, it was somewhat interesting, but I had a hard time getting into it. And again, that could just be that I'm a newcomer and I'm not starting from the very beginning. And if that's the case, please, somebody comment below and, say, hey, listen, I think you would really enjoy this if you started from the beginning. And I'll definitely check it out and give it a second go around. But I'm gonna give the story the benefit of the doubt, and I'm gonna say a 6.5. I think it'd be pretty decent. Um, Gameplay. Here's my thing about the gameplay. This felt very like PlayStation 3 ish. Like, in terms of, like, it's super simple. All you're doing is simple side scrolling stuff. Uh, I mean, it's not very innovative. I think the only thing that was super different and innovating was the fact that when you die, you're back like that, and that's just the hardware of the PlayStation 5, and I'm glad for that. I think that helps the game immensely because I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I probably died like I don't know how many times just trying to figure out what I was doing, but I I aside from that and maybe the you know changing how the areas are with like the angles and stuff, it was very much the same as any side scroller I'd seen. But then again, like I said, I coming off the Switch, I it reminds me a lot of that stuff, and I'm just kind of like, if the Switch does it, you know, is it really all that impressive? I don't know. And then I think for me that gets it down to, I think, a 5. I'm not going to give it a ton of, you know, grief about it because I mean it is simple, but if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? But at the same time, it's it's ironic that the title is Soulstorm when I feel like it doesn't really have much of a soul to it right now. Now, audios and visuals. And this again, mind you, is just my opinion, but I felt like it was rough. I'm not a fan of the voices. I feel like it took away from it, and I think that's what really I think damaged the story for me a little bit. But aside from that, the visuals of this game were very, very good. I mean, like I said, the areas of this game are all very detailed. They're very nice and beautiful to look at. Uh, there's always something going on in the background or something like that, and it's just really cool to look at. So, again, it's kind of conflicting, and I've had several games that did that, and it kind of just came down to, can I overlook one thing and focus on the other? And the visuals are important to me, and because of that, I'm going to give it a 5.5. But it gets a 5.5 just because of the audio and just like I said, the voice acting. It just felt kind of flaccid, like it didn't really matter to anybody. So overall, for me, I think Oddworld Soulstorm is going to get a 5.5, just mainly because, ironically, against its namesake, Oddworld Soulstorm's lacking soul to me, at least. So, if you are a fan of this series, by all means, get it. I'm sure you'll get it in ways that I just don't. If you love side scrollers, maybe check it out, especially for the fact that it's free. But by no means wait. By no means should any of you wait and try and get this later when you need to pay for it. If you're gonna try this, try it now while it's free because that's an awesome opportunity that I recommend you not let go. So, but that's all I got for Oddworld Soulstorm. Keep an eye out We're going to be posting more videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I'll see you guys next time.